So yesterday we started our discussion with respect to why the civil servants must study geography, physical geography. And we talked about some basics related to how various relief features on the Earth's surface have actually formed due to two important forces. One is endogenic force and exogenic force. And we have gotten the details of what is endogenic and what is exogenic. And endogenic forces, they are variability developers, and exogenic forces are levelers. Three endogenic forces we talked about. It is volcanism, earthquake, and mountain building. And if I talk about exogenic agents, five exogenic agents we have: river, glacier, wind, sea waves, and underground water. These exogenic agents involved in threefold task: erosion, transportation, and deposition. And we ended our discussion talking about the importance of geography in deciding the fate of a country. Geography can decide the fate of a country. And it is the geography of United States that actually makes United States the most, or the super power, the most powerful country of the world. Right. Okay. Now, if I talk about December 25, 1991, it is the day on which the Cold War has ended. And this is the day when US became the superpower. So the question is, US still the most powerful country on earth or not? If I talk about, like, if I ask North Korean president, which is the most powerful country, the president would say like it is not USA, it is North Korea, right? Putin will say like it is Russia. So the question is, what makes a country the most powerful? If I start with economy, how many of you heard about Wall Street? Okay. How many of you have heard about Luzia Zui? Lujia Zui? No one. It is basically the Wall Street equivalent of China. Okay. But not many have actually heard about it. It is actually located in Shanghai. It is a Wall Street equivalent of China. But everyone has actually heard about Wall Street. That means whatever happens in Wall Street will have impact on the rest of the countries, or rest of the world, I would say. My another question is, why do we have the foreign exchange reserves in dollar? Why not in Mexican peso or Turkish lira or Georgian lari? Why it is in dollars? Because US dollar is the world's primary reserve currency, right? Many commodities are priced in dollars. And if you actually look at the transactions which happened in US dollars, so it is basically the stability of United States. It is basically the stability of United States that actually makes the foreign government, the foreign countries, they actually prefer US dollar, or they actually prefer to hold their foreign exchange in US dollars. Understanding it? So what actually happens if something happens with respect to the US economy, it will have an impact on the rest of the world. So economically speaking, United States is the most powerful country, because something happens with respect to US economy, definitely it will have an impact on the other countries. And most of the countries, like what they are actually holding their foreign reserves, foreign exchange in US dollars. It is majorly because of the stability of United States. So economically speaking, United States is the most powerful country of the world. But It is not the economics alone that actually makes a country most powerful. This economy should be backed by military. Right. Look at Kuwait. It is a significant oil producer, a prosperous nation economically. But what happened in 1990s? Invaded by Iraq. Despite all its wealth, they did not have the military strength to rebel the Iraqi forces. Understanding it. If I talk about examples from India, Mughal Empire. Mughal Empire in India, known for its wealth. But what happened in late 17th century, 18th century? They actually did not focus on their navy. The empire became vulnerable to the external forces. Understanding it. Today, we can't imagine Russia invading US. No matter how much Putin loves that, but he can't even think of invading US. Right? Because just look at their military power. So US, it is basically the economic power is backed by phenomenal military. Understanding it. And if you actually look at the countries in which they are actually maintaining their military base, more than 70 countries, they are actually maintaining their military base. So economic power is settled, military power is settled. Now, the fundamental question is, apart from economy or military, what actually makes United States the most powerful country? It is not the economy, it is not the culture, or it is not the military. The answer lies in its geography. Understanding it. It is the geography of United States that actually makes United States the most powerful country of the world. It is the geography of United States that actually transformed that particular country. How was it that possible? Please understand that geography can ruin countries, geography can ruin empires, geography can ruin civilizations. At the same time, geography can make one civilization the most powerful, the most innovative. Both way it can happen. Understanding it. So let's watch a video. Okay, watch this video.
Once a colony, the United States is today a global superpower, and behind its unmatched level of growth and success mostly stands its geography. Between Canada and Mexico, two friendly countries that do not pose as threats militarily speaking, and between the Pacific Ocean to the west and the Atlantic Ocean to the east, the US sits in the safest location on the planet, position that no other country benefits from. In the oceans about which historian Thomas Bailey said that America's liquid assets, besides being the source of food and the gateway to international trade, also act as thick walls that protect the country from any exterior threats. The fact that they are huge makes a hypothetical invasion extremely hard to prove, if not even impossible, because an invasion across the oceans, not only that it would require heavy supply chains, it would also lose its surprise element and therefore its power. And perhaps the clearest example that highlights the effect that America's special position on the globe has had on the country's development is Europe, or better said, the Old World, which throughout its history has been shredded in armed conflicts and rebuilt countless times. There have been armed conflicts in the US also, but these fights took place at the time when the country was young and weak. Once things settled, the US took advantage of the most secure location in the world and focused on development on all levels. Still, the influence and weight of the United States on the global scene didn't result from just the fact that the country is thousands of miles away from everyone else. Both Mexico and Canada are basically in the same situation, but once again, geography made the difference. In Canada, the cold climate has always limited the practice of agriculture, and the difficult terrain, along with the lack of inland waterways to facilitate the transport of goods, food, and the movement of people, have only slowed down the country's pace of development. And things weren't that good in Mexico either, which also had to face a slow pace of development because agriculture was practiced with difficulty since most of the country was a desert. And just like Canada, Mexico also lacked a network, or at least a navigable river, to ease transport and access to the center of the country. But for the US, the advantage of being insulated between two oceans was easily exploited to the max because its coastline has deep natural harbors, some of them being at the mouths of navigable rivers, rivers that go deep into the country, connecting it with the rest of the world. And historically and strategically speaking, New Orleans is one of the most important harbor cities in the US because it sits at the mouth of the most important drainage basin in the States, the Greater Mississippi River Basin. Having a vast network of navigable rivers, the Mississippi Basin offered that efficient mean of transport of goods, mail, and people for almost half of the American territory, which, not being isolated from the rest of the world, thrived. In a way, we can consider this basin that covers 40% of the US's mainland a liquid, interconnected natural highway system that was vital for the country in a period when there were no railways or roads. To understand the absolutely essential role that the basin has had in the evolution of the American Midwest, for companies based in Cincinnati, Ohio, rather than sending their merchandise by land to the East Coast, it was cheaper and therefore more feasible to have the merchandise shipped on a route 10 times longer via the Ohio River, then the Mississippi, and then by sea from New Orleans all the way to Philadelphia or New York. This is how well this immense drainage system worked for the young America. And the vast river system that the US has been playing a much deeper role in just being vital to trade both domestic and foreign, as it is also a fundamental resource for another absolutely necessary aspect regarding the country's growth, which is the ability to feed its population efficiently. You see, lands crossed by rivers are really good for growing crops because rivers carry clays and finer silts, which once deposited, increase the level of organic matter in the soils, thus making them fertile. And America has a lot of land that is amazing for agriculture. Without Alaska, continental US has an area of 7.6 million square kilometers, and almost half of it is used for growing crops and livestock raising. In the same time, besides having fertile and well-irrigated land, the US also has a good climate for agriculture. So the country is blessed with everything it needs for the growing season to be long and plentiful. And when a country has so much land that is ideal for agriculture, we can say that size works in its favor. You see, in geography, size matters, but just as it can be an advantage, it can also be a natural restraint. And to see how and why, let's take a quick look at Australia, which is about the same size as the United States. Although Australia is huge, its geography offers the proper conditions for human settlements to function and thrive on just a small fraction of the country's landmass. The northern part is way too hot, most of the country is an arid desert, and the only drainage system in Australia that is formed of navigable rivers, the Murray-Darling Basin, covers only about 14% of the total landmass, and on top of this, the basin doesn't have the flow, depth, and reliability of the Mississippi Basin. So in Australia's case, size didn't help that much. In fact, the incredibly long distances between the major population poles which are spread along the coasts are a major drawback on both short and long run. Of course, the US as you know it wouldn't have made it this far without the crucial and wise decisions taken by the right people at the right time. The decision to advance to the western part of the continent made the US, geographically speaking, the right place, because having all of these incredible resources under the same roof gave the country its much needed boost and leverage. The rest is history.
Okay, one more video with respect to the river Mississippi. Any thoughts? What you just saw is the biggest advantage United States have. What's the biggest advantage US has having? The Mississippi River system. So the fundamental question is, how can river system help a country being more powerful? So tell me, what are rivers? Rivers, I can say that rivers are the arteries of trade and transportation. Rivers are the arteries of trade and transportation. You know, arteries carry oxygenated blood from heart to rest of the body. If no arteries, we'll die. All vital organs rely on the continuous supply of oxygenated blood. So rivers are actually what? Arteries. Now, if I talk about the transportation system we had before, like we had like what? We had now, if I talk about, we have roadways, railways, airways, and also like now we started constructing inland waterways as well. But in older era, it was all rivers. Understanding it? Now you can actually see that now government of India is actually pushing for waterways. Why government is actually pushing so much for waterways? Because, for example, in the case of waterways, it is the transportation cost is less, pollution is less, no traffic jam, congestion is less. Understanding it? So in United States, it is basically river Mississippi has changed the entire course of logistics and the entire history. Mississippi is the largest river in US by volume. Mississippi drains over 31 states of United States to Canadian province as well. It is 3,730 kilometer long river. So it is actually what? River Mississippi has actually changed the entire course of logistics in United States. Understanding it. So such natural advantage United States is having. And apart from this, river has also got strategic importance. For industry, like what? If I talk about industry, transportation of raw materials, river has got strategic importance. Settlement thrives around rivers. Agriculture, food, fisheries, etc. River provides a defensive advantage. It is very harder for the foreign army to cross the river. Understanding it? It is very harder for the foreign army to cross the river. So what I'm actually saying is, if you actually look at any great civilizations, they are actually located around rivers. Mesopotamian civilization, Egyptian civilization, Indus Valley civilization. Egyptian civilization, River Nile. Indus Valley civilization, River Indus. Chinese civilization, River Yangtze. And if I talk about Gangetic River system is the lifeline of millions in our country. Getting it? So River Mississippi is actually giving what? US an unfair advantage. That natural advantage United States is having. River is actually what? River is actually has got strategic importance. It provides defensive advantage and transportation, logistics, etc. Understanding it? Now, any other reason why United States is powerful? One is river system. Second is resources. Resources. US, for example, US is the leading natural gas producer. You need energy. No matter what you do in your life, you need energy. If anything happens in West Asia or Middle East, what happens? India will get stressed because energy is that much important. And in case of United States is self-sufficient and also exporting as well. You need energy to drive industries. You need energy to produce agriculture, transportation. Everywhere you need energy. And US is actually self-sufficient. So that is actually again a great advantage for United States. Anything else? Yes, if I talk about United States is the fourth largest country by area. Fourth largest country by area. That actually makes that particular nation relatively more than self-sufficient. But what is more important is it is not the quantity of land over there, it is the quality of land. If I talk about Canada, northern Canada, it is not hospitable. It is all ice, Arctic tundra you have. No crops can be grown in that particular region. Russia, most of the Russia is in Arctic Circle. China, you have so many deserts, Gobi Desert. But in United States, there also United States has got a fair advantage. It is the quality of land. It is the bread basket of the world. It is ideal for agriculture. Understanding it? So, rivers, energy resources, quality of land. Anything else? Yes, you look at the coastline of United States. Coastline of United States is 5 times larger than the entire continent of Africa. Now, if you have more coastline, what does that mean? You have more control over the oceans in exclusive economic zone. Yesterday, I give you the study plan in that you have written UN clause in that you will study about exclusive economic zone. Understanding it? So you have like what? More control, more coast you have, the more control over the oceans you have, more fishes, you can explore more resources, mineral energy resources, natural gas. That is another geographical advantage United States is having. Understanding it? Yes or no? Anything else? Yes. If I talk about ocean currents, you'll study about ocean currents again in oceanography. Ocean currents can have huge consequences with respect to the fate of the country, economy of the country. That means if I talk about ocean currents, United States is on the correct side of ocean currents. There is an ocean current called Gulf Stream. You'll study that. There is an ocean current called California current. If California current is not there, that particular area would have been a desert. Understanding it? The western coast of United States would have been a desert. So still many things, the list is actually endless. So it is basically the geography of United States that actually makes what? About what? US the most powerful country of the world. Economy and military is other factors, but the primary factor is geography. This is how you need to actually analyze any country from geographical perspective. This is the analysis you have to do it for your general studies as well as for your optional. How to write a geography answer. You have to actually see things through geographical lens. Understanding it. So that is actually required for writing answers in optional. Another reason I can say, the fact that US in northern hemisphere is a magic. All civilizations, if I talk about Mesopotamian civilization, Egyptian civilization, Indus Valley civilization, Chinese civilization, all in northern hemisphere. What northern hemisphere has to do with it? North and south, north hemisphere and south hemisphere. North hemisphere you have big land mass. Big land mass, easier trade. Economy is much more competitive. You can facilitate more trade agreements, alliances, trade negotiations become smoother. But if I talk about southern hemisphere countries, what happens? They are actually engaging in long trade routes, more expensive. In southern hemisphere, if actually flights, if I talk about, they've got many layovers. So what this actually proves? This actually proves that geography is deciding the fate of a country. Understanding it? It is the economy that creates the empire. But geography will help you to sustain that empire. Geography decides what we eat, what we wear. Understanding it? It is the geography of a country that actually decides the fate of that country. Geography decides what we eat, what we wear. Why Indians eat spicy food? Why Russians drink a lot of vodka? Answer lies in geography. So most of the answer for these questions lies hidden in geography. So it is the study of geography that will actually help us to appreciate the diversity. Understanding it? It is the economy that creates the empire. What creates economy? The foundation actually lies in geography. What creates economy? It is the geography that creates economy. Harappan to Mesopotamian to Egyptian to American, these powers become superpower because of the geographical reasons. Civilizational growth is a miracle of geography. Understanding it? Diplomatic negotiations, civilizational history, the core of politics, internal security, everything is actually relied on geography. So we can say that geography decides the fate of a country. Understanding it? Look at the United States. The most fundamental thing with respect to United States, look at the location of United States. Because of the natural barrier between two oceans, United States was actually what? United States was actually free from war. It actually escaped 2 world wars. Yes or no? It is a location. Understanding it? Having fewer countries besides United States. Fewer country besides means what? Fewer border problems. The border problems of United States is less because it has got very fewer countries besides it. So it is basically the geography. Understanding it? So geography actually, what? Geography actually, economy actually creates the empire. It is a geography that helps to sustain that particular empire. So in general, we can say that it is a geography that decides the fate of a country. Okay, why I have actually discussed this particular thing is this should be your thought process while actually reading anything with respect to your optional or anything with respect to your while preparing for your geography optional. You have to see everything from the geographical perspective. Start seeing from geographical perspective. You watch a movie, analyze it from geographical perspective. Understanding it? You can see geography everywhere. You watch a series, you watch a movie, you closely watch it. You can see geographical reasons beside everything. You read newspaper. Suppose you are traveling. If you watch very closely, you can see many geographical miracles, geographical magic. Understanding it. So that should be the mindset you should have. See, what is given in the textbooks, everybody can actually read it. Everybody can actually study the theory and put it in the paper. That is not going to give you that edge in your answers. Understanding it? Because all of you are actually going through the same textbook, same notes, everything. But what I am trying to inculcate in you through my classes is how to think geographically. Understanding it. That is actually going to give you the edge over the aspirants from rest of India. Otherwise, everyone will read NCERT, everyone will read Savindra Singh, everyone will read Kullar, because you have a lot of materials available in the market. Nowadays, it's like what? It's flooded with materials. So that is not going to make any difference. Everything is available in the internet. And everybody can actually copy that. The one thing which actually differentiate you from others, differentiate your answer from your others, is basically your thought process. Nobody can actually copy that. So from the day one, in any optional, it's not only geography. If I talk about like political science or public administration or sociology, for example, sociology, you have to give a sociological touch to your answer. Then only you are going to get marks. Understanding it. So that means you need to actually start thinking sociologically. So here you need to actually start thinking geographically. Understanding it. So in order to understand that particular thing, that is why we have actually discussed this particular topic, how geography decides the fate of a country. Any questions from your side? It's also an important factor. Because equatorial region have got everyday precipitation, right? Equatorial region don't have. Equatorial region has got everyday precipitation. Everyday rainfall you have it in equatorial region. Equatorial region, they don't actually celebrate Sankranti or any other festival, right? They don't have season cycle. So latitude is one of the factor. So what? Predictability is related to what? It's all about like, see, I can actually tell you, take Delhi versus Kerala. Okay. Delhi versus Kerala. What is the climate difference you see between Delhi and Kerala? Delhi, you have extreme climate. If it is hot, it is extreme hot. If it's like extreme winters. Kerala always have a moderate climate. Not only Kerala, all the peninsular locations. Understanding it. So peninsular locations are having peninsular states are having locational advantage. Ports are nearby. Climate is moderate. Nothing extreme. Understanding it. So that is a factor. Okay. Predictability is like you have other factors. Understanding it. So it's also you can actually talk about the terrain. Northeastern states, one of the major issue is like what difficult terrain you have. Understanding it. So that is the reason if the height goes on increasing, what about the population density? Population density goes on decreasing. Mountains has got less population than plains. Understanding it. So it is basically the terrain. The northeast states are having difficult terrain. That is the reason. That is actually what the policing or the border management issues you have. You have dense forest over there. So it is actually the geography there. So it is the terrain, it is the locational factor, it is the climate, it is availability of resources. Understanding it, because resource availability have got direct impact on industries. Industry will have direct impact on the other things, life and livelihood of the people. Getting it? So everything is actually, if you analyze everything, everything actually starts from the geographical factor. That's what I'm trying to convince. Any other question? We'll study that multiple times on. Definitely have. In climatology, we'll talk about latitudes, longitudes, multiple time zones, etc. Any question? So if you want to score above average in any optional subject, okay, you should actually refine your thought process. Okay, it's not only the books that is actually helping you to get above average marks in optionals. Understanding it. The content is easily available. You are actually flooded with the content. Apart from the content, you need to have in any option, not only in geography. If you want to make that difference, so from the day one, you have to start that particular process. It only comes via practice. You can't actually think geographically all of a sudden. That's not going to happen. You have to refine your thought process in such a way that once you analyze everything, like it will automatically comes in your mind. You will actually reach a stage after like 3-4 months. Understanding it. So that is very important. All right. That's the reason I told you geography, like once you start thinking everything like what geographically or you if you actually see everything from geographical perspective, geographical lens, through geographical lens, that actually give you altogether different level of experience. That's the reason I told you, like you clear civil services, not that's a different story. But optional geography learning would be one of the best learning experience in your life. That I can guarantee. Okay. Clearing civil services, it's not only the optional, you have like GS, you have SA, you have personality test, you have many other factors comes into play. Right. So with that, we'll actually start with the first module, that is oceanography. This particular module is important for your prelims. Okay. Important for your general studies mains as well as for the optional. You will get question for your prelims. You will definitely get question for your GS paper, GS mains and optional. So today I'll give you a small introduction with respect to this particular module. And once we start the class, we'll start it in full-fledged manner. Right. You know that ocean comprises of more than 75% of the Earth's area. Like the land surface, on the land you can see various relief features. Various relief features like mountains, plateaus, plains, valleys, deltas, etc. Likewise, ocean also represents the various kinds of features. Now, what are the relief features in ocean? That was a question. Because till 1960s, because the knowledge about the relief of ocean or the physical features in ocean was very limited in the past. Land, it is very easy. You just look around, you can see so many what relief features. You can see mountains, rivers, valleys, plains. But it is not as easy as in oceans. You have to go into the ocean, you have to see the various relief features, find out their location. It's not an easy task. It's a very difficult task. That is the reason the knowledge about the relief features of ocean floor. That means what is relief feature? The physical features, the physiographic features. The knowledge about the relief features of ocean floor was very limited in the past. Now, you know that 1939 to 1945, the World War II took place. We'll actually study it in world history. The war actually begins in Germany when it invades Poland, prompting the Britain and France to declare war on Germany. And this conflict later expanded to what we call it as World War. If I talk about this particular war, this war was not just a historic war. I can say that from a geographer's perspective, this war has actually shaped the geography of 21st century. The question is how? If I look it from the perspective of an international history student or international relations students, I'll actually say that after this world war, the world become bipolar, emergence of superpower, etc., etc. But from geographical perspective, how I analyze this particular war is that This war, the innovations that developed during this particular war has actually changed the way we think about our oceans. Understanding it. The innovations or the technological advancement that we developed during this particular war has actually changed the way we think about oceans. For example, you can't forget the role of submarines in World War II. Submarines are nothing but watercraft capable of operation underwater. Understanding it? Operation underwater. So these submarines helped in exploring oceans, help, helped us to understand what is there inside the ocean. What I'm trying to say is, during World War II, we have actually developed submarines. What is the primary purpose of submarine? The primary purpose of submarine is military. But the advancements in submarine technology that actually helped to explore the deeper part of ocean. Understanding it? That actually helped to explore the deeper part of the ocean. That process, I can definitely say that these technology or innovations that actually developed during World War II has actually helped in mapping the ocean floor. Has actually helped in mapping the ocean floor. Understanding it? What do you mean by mapping the ocean floor? You are trying to understand the depth of the ocean. You understand what is the relief features in ocean. You are understanding the complex terrain of seabed. Getting it or not? For example, sonar. What is sonar? Hmm? Sound navigation and ranging. So you have like the echo sounding techniques. Initially, actually, what happened is you have the sound recording machines, and the sound recording machines enables the oceanographers to get more knowledge regarding the depth of the ocean. By this technique, what happened is sound is penetrated into the ocean, inside the ocean, and it returns back after hitting the bottom of the ocean, and you will actually calculate the duration of the sound wave traveled, and accordingly we will calculate the depth of the ocean. Got it? Later what happened is this echo sounding techniques has been replaced by radar sounding, sonar, sound navigation and ranging to find the depth of the ocean. Got it? Thus in 1960, Harry Hess. Harry Hess. He was an American geologist. He was a former naval officer in World War II. What he has actually done is, he has actually, on the basis of the collection of data, he started mapping the ocean floor. Understanding it? He started mapping the ocean floor. He used the data of mapping the ocean floor, and he actually developed a theory, and that particular theory is called sea floor spreading. What is that theory called? Sea floor spreading. Right now, our topic of discussion is not seafloor spreading, that we will discuss in geomorphology. I'm just giving a history, how we started understanding what is there inside the ocean. So it all started after during the Second World War time, the innovations and technology which has been developed during the Second World War has actually helped us to understand what is there inside the ocean and depth of the ocean. What are the important relief feature you see in the ocean? Understanding it. We started mapping the ocean floor. And in 1960, Harry Hess, an American geologist, he was a former naval officer during World War II. He used the data of mapping of ocean floor and he proposed a theory which is called sea floor spreading. Now what happens is, on the basis of the collection of data, Harry has proposed sea floor spreading. At the same time, another thing which actually happened is, on the basis of the collection of data, we started understanding what are the important relief features, physical features inside the ocean. We started understanding what is the depth of the ocean. Getting it? And we developed, we depicted, we projected these data in the form of a diagram that is called bathymetric map. What is that called? Bathymetric map. Or it is also called hypsographic map. Hypsographic curve. What is hypsographic curve? On the basis of data, we started indicating the features of ocean, the depth of the ocean, various relief features of ocean in the form of a curve, in the form of a diagram that is called hypsographic curve or bathymetric curve. This much is clear? Yes or no? Yes or no? Those are attending online, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So what is that curve? So this is the hypsographic curve or hypsometric curve. Carefully understand what I'm saying. This is coastline, this is shoreline. After the shoreline, you have the oceans or sea. Okay. This is where the land ends. In between coastline and shoreline, you have what? Beach. So you have to visualize. Where the beach end towards the land. You have land. Where the beach end towards the land. What are beach? Beach is nothing but temporary sand deposits. Where the beach end towards the, so there you have coastline. Where the beach end towards the ocean, you have shoreline. Understanding it? Yes or no? So beach is nothing but temporary sand deposits between coastline and shoreline. That is beach. Then this is the water level. This is called mean sea level. Mean sea level. Average sea level. We are taking it as average. All over the world, you take it as a mean sea level. Average. Okay. Now see, first you have a continent shelf. Then next you have a slope, continent slope. Then you have something called abyssal plain. Abyssal plain is nothing but deep sea plain. Abyssal plain, deep sea plain. So that means I'm talking about the average depth of oceans to be 4,000 meters. Got it? Yes or no? So using the data related to ocean floor, the mapping of ocean floor, we have constructed something called hypsographic curve or hypsometric curve. Understanding it? Hypsometric curve is nothing but it is the diagrammatic representation of the various relief features depth of ocean. We are representing it diagrammatically. So you have coastline and shoreline, in between you have beach. Then you have mean sea level, the ocean level. Within the ocean, first one, what do you have? Continent shelf. The depth is less. Continent slope, you have a slope. And last one is the ocean floor, the deep sea plain, abyssal plain. It is called abyssal plain. And you have the average depth of ocean to be 4,000 meters. Understanding it? So the three major relief features in ocean. Which are the three major features in ocean? Continent shelf, continent slope, and abyssal plain. Understanding it? So we can actually say that the oceanic relief features, the ocean relief features are divided into two: major relief features and minor relief features. Which are the major relief features? Continent, shelf, continent, slope, abyssal plain. That is shown in the diagram. So using the data with respect to mapping of ocean floor, we have divided the relief features of oceans into two categories: major relief features and minor relief features. Which are the major relief features? Continent shelf, continent slope, and abyssal plain. What is the minor relief features? Submarine canyon, continent rise, sea rise, ridges, trenches, fracture zone. It is submarine canyon, continent rise, ridges, sea rise, ridges, trenches, and fracture zone. So in this particular module, you have to study each of this. What is continent shelf, continent slope, and abyssal plain? What are their significance, characteristics, etc.? And the minor relief features: formation, submarine canyon, continent rise, sea rise, ridges, trenches, and fracture zone. Okay. So we'll start with the continent shelf once we start the class. Okay, it's an open class. We'll start it once we start the batch. I think when the batch is starting? July? July 1. Okay. Right. Now, if you have any questions related to your geography optional or any doubts, regarding selection of your optional anything, you can ask me. Any queries, anything. GS also it should be neat. No, for GS, for any civil service aspirant, irrespective of their optional, they have to know how to draw Indian map and world map. Otherwise, you won't get marks in. See, maps are required in GS geography, GS internal security, GS international relations, even some environment question, even some history questions. You need maps. Okay, so you have to know how to draw world map and Indian map, irrespective of your optional. Okay, yeah. That is a must. That is a compulsory, mandatory for all the aspirants. Because this much subject you have. Okay. Anything else? Many more questions? ഒന്നുമില്ലേ? ഒന്നും ചോദിക്കാനില്ലേ? See, score actually depends. അതിങ്ങനെ ഓരോ ഇയറിലും മാറിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കും. 2 years before we have like the highest mark was like 305, 3010, 310 we had. പിന്നെ നെക്സ്റ്റ് ഇയർ വന്നപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ നോർമലൈസ് ചെയ്തപ്പം എല്ലാ ഓപ്ഷണലിൻ്റെ മാർക്ക് കുറഞ്ഞു. ഓക്കെ, അറ്റ് ദാറ്റ് ടൈം our student Minnu, she was the national topper in geography and her score was 296. Okay, so she was the national topper in geography. So what actually what actually made the difference is she is actually a true geographer. She actually likes the subject very much, so she started thinking everything from geographical perspective. So once she started watching a movie or something, see, her thought will be like she actually see it from geographical lens. Automatically that has been reflected in her answer. Understanding it while reading a book, newspapers, first thing she actually noticed is like the geographical perspective of that particular thing. If you read something related to suppose like the ongoing conflict, from geography optional, what student, aspirant, what you have to do is you have to actually think it from the geography. Israel, Iran, US, how it is actually, what is the geography behind it? Understanding it. So that is going to make the difference. So the score actually varies from every year. So but this year we had like a good score. I think 279 something we had. And last year also we had the national topper in paper 1 and paper 2 separately. Okay, paper 2, I think last year we had it like 149, 151. This year also in paper 2 we had like 152, 153. And paper 1 the score പൊതുവേ normalize ചെയ്യുമ്പം കുറവായിരുന്നു. But we had like 139 something. Yeah. So score actually differ. ഏത് ഓപ്ഷണൽ ആണെങ്കിൽ you can actually see it in first 100 ranks. You can see people from all the optionals. Maths ഉണ്ടാവും, മലയാളം ഉണ്ടാവും, sociology ഉണ്ടാവും, public administration, history. Getting it? So that is always there. Anthropology. So don't actually go with the trend. ഇപ്പം ഞാനിപ്പം ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറയാം. I know like people who 2-3 കൊല്ലം മുമ്പ് ആന്ത്രപ്പോളജി വാസ് ലൈക്ക് എന്താ ഭയങ്കര ഇതായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ കുറേ പേര് ഒന്നും നോക്കാതെ ആന്ത്രപ്പോളജി എടുത്തു. ഇപ്പൊ കഴിഞ്ഞ ലാസ്റ്റ് 2 years ആയിട്ട് എല്ലാവരും ആന്ത്രപ്പോളജി ഓപ്ഷണൽ മാറ്റുകയാണ്. മനസ്സിലാവുന്നില്ല? സോ ഡോണ്ട് ഗോ വിത്ത് ദ ട്രെൻഡ്. യു ഹാവ് ടു ആക്ച്വലി സീ വെദർ ദാറ്റ് സബ്ജക്ട് അത് എനിക്ക് പഠിക്കാൻ പറ്റുമോ, അതിൽ എനിക്ക് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ടോ. ദിസ് ഇസ് ദ തിങ്സ് യു ഹാവ് ടു ആക്ച്വലി നോട്ടീസ്. അതർവൈസ് വാട്ട് ഹാപ്പൻസ് ഇസ് ആഫ്റ്റർ ത്രൂ 2-3 attempts, like if you are not clearing, changing the option is very difficult. 2020 to 2021 anthropology ഭയങ്കര, the first rank was anthropology. മനസ്സിലാവുന്നില്ലേ? Now I have like people, I know like people who have actually changed the subject. So don't do that. Okay, don't go with the trend. I'm taking this optional because my friend has actually taken this optional. No, don't do that. Or topper has actually taken this optional. No. I'm telling you, you have toppers from all the optional subjects. The thing is you should have an interest in that particular subject. Then you have availability of faculty, availability of resources. But primary thing is like you should have a confidence, like, and you should be comfortable with my classes. So that's the reason we are actually giving you open classes. You can actually sit and decide, because I can't actually say like what എല്ലാവരും എൻ്റെ ക്ലാസ്സിൽ കംഫർട്ടബിൾ ആണെന്നില്ല, because you have പലരുടെയും ലേണിംഗ് മെത്തഡോളജീസ് ഡിഫറെൻ്റ് ആയിരിക്കും. മനസ്സിലാവുന്നില്ലേ? ചിലവർക്ക് ആ സബ്ജക്റ്റിനോട് ഇഷ്ടമുണ്ടാവും, ചിലർക്ക് ആ സബ്ജക്റ്റ് ഇഷ്ടമുണ്ടാവില്ല. മനസ്സിലാവുന്നില്ലേ? ചില ആൾക്കാർക്ക് എൻ്റെ ക്ലാസ് ഇഷ്ടമുണ്ടാവില്ല, ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടില്ല, ചില ആൾക്കാർക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെടും, ചില ആൾക്കാർക്ക് സെയിം ഹാപ്പൻസ് വിത്ത് ഐ സാർ, സെയിം ഹാപ്പൻസ് വിത്ത് എനി ഫാക്കൽറ്റി. യു കാണ്ട് ആക്ച്വലി make everyone happy. Understanding it? So it's basically like, എന്താ പറയാ, so that is the reason we are actually giving you the open classes, so that, see, I can't actually decide optional for you. You have to be the decision maker. I can give you the inputs. So now you know how my classes will be. Tomorrow you will have classes of Diasar, so you know how his classes will be. And in these three what days, you'll get to know like what the subject, a bit of the subject. Understanding it? This is what we can actually do. Depending on that, you can take the decision. Okay. So that is something you have to do. So don't go behind score. Every subject is scoring. You have like എല്ലാ സബ്ജക്റ്റിലും 300+ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇപ്രാവശ്യം മാർക്സ് വന്ന് ഇപ്രാവശ്യത്തെ ടോപ്പ് സ്കോർ എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞാൽ 270 280 മാർക്സ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഹൈ മാർക്സ് ആണ്. എല്ലാ സബ്ജക്ട്സിലും അത് വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഓക്കെ. You have geography. The thing is like, ഇല്ല, ജോഗ്രഫി ഓപ്ഷണൽ ഉള്ളവർക്ക് അത് ആൻസേഴ്സ് തന്നെ എഴുതാം. ദ ഓൺലി തിങ് ഈസ് ലൈക്ക് കൂടുതൽ ടെക്നിക്കൽ ആക്കണ്ടെന്നേ ഉള്ളൂ. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? പക്ഷേ GS ചോദിക്കുന്ന ചോദ്യം ഇതിലൊക്കെ ഏകദേശം ഒരേപോലെ തന്നെയാണ് വരിക. അപ്പോൾ അത് ജോഗ്രഫിക്കലായിട്ട് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് എഴുതാൻ പറ്റും. ഓക്കെ. പിന്നെ ഒരു ഡിഫറൻസ് എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, ഇപ്പം നമ്മളിപ്പം എന്താണ് ഇതിൽ നമ്മൾ ഇത് കുറച്ചും കൂടെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് ഏത് ജോഗ്രഫർ പറഞ്ഞു, അയാളുടെ ബുക്കിൻ്റെ പേരെന്താണ്, ഇങ്ങനെ കുറച്ചും കൂടെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് നമ്മൾ പഠിക്കുമല്ലോ. ചില ടെക്നിക്കൽ ടെർമിനോളജീസ് വി യൂസ്. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനത്തെ കാര്യങ്ങളൊന്നും GS അത്ര ഡീറ്റെയിൽ ആയിട്ട് ആവശ്യമില്ല, അത്രയേ ഉള്ളൂ. ഓട്ടോമാറ്റിക്കലി അതൊന്നും വലിയ കാര്യമില്ല. That will happens. See, if you analyze the question is what is continent drift theory? You write the same answer in optional as well as in GS. What is plate tectonic theory? You write the same answer in. So അത്രയേ ഉള്ളൂ എൻ്റെ കാര്യം. അത് പറയും സാർ, നാളെ പറയും. That I don't know. You have to actually check with. നിങ്ങൾ അഡ്മിഷൻ എടുക്കുമ്പോൾ അവിടെ ചോദിച്ചാൽ മതി അങ്ങനത്തെ ഡൗട്ട്സ് ഒക്കെ. The only thing I know is like we are actually giving in hybrid. You can come and attend it from here, and you can actually, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ വരാതിരിക്കുകയാണ്, you can live, you can actually do it from, and also recorded class will be available in your portal. Limit എന്തായാലും ഉണ്ടാവും, because we can't actually give unlimited access, right? And you don't have to see the same class again and again. The only thing is like it's actually a waste of time. Come here, attend the class, revise it, done. Okay. Because you have many things to do, right? So you have to use your time in a very effective manner. Anything else? No questions? Those are attending online, any questions? Message ഉണ്ടോ? So those are attending online, you can unmute and you can ask questions. Sir, I missed last class, but could you please talk about fee structure, normal class timing? Okay. Fee structure and all, you have to actually contact office. They'll actually provide you the details regarding the fee structure. Class timing will be morning 7 to 8:30. Okay. And the same classroom. Those are attending online. This is the classroom for the geography option. Okay, so we'll stop here. We'll see you in the class. Thank you. Good day.